Oh, hey, welcome. It's The TED Show, episode 205. Today is Thursday, July 19th?
Yes.
Gosh, July 19th. Super excited to have Rosene Johnson from Pace Center for Girls on the show today for 205. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know you can hear us or see us. It takes a few minutes for it to kick in, so I think we're talking pretty loud. We've got a great view here. We're all good. But see, when I don't see faces, I get scared. That's what happened the last time. Justin Clark was on, and I'm just going live, and I'm having a good time, and nobody's saying anything. Rose Kemp, I see you popped on. Great. Let me know, Tony Figueroa. Let us know that you can hear and see, especially Rosene, because we want to talk about Pace Center for Girls. It's such an amazing organization. And I'm so excited to have her on there. Hey, thank you. All right, so we got a thumbs up. Great. All right, Gert Garman's on. Good. All right, so welcome. So we got to meet. We have to give a shout out to Charlotte, right?
Absolutely.
So Charlotte is a friend of mine from up here. She's an amazing. We have a great time. We laugh a lot. Hey, Kimber. But she said, I want to come on the show. I don't know if you know this. Originally, she said, I want to come on the show. I said, well, anytime you want to come on the show, I love you to death. Then she said, no. I want you to bring on Rosene from Pace Center for Girls.
That is so sweet.
So I said, well, you can both. Hey, what's up, Frederick? Yes, Friday Eve. Absolutely, I'm ready. So yeah, she wanted you to come on because she's become a part of it apparently, and she's super involved. And so welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Thank
Look,
you.
We've got people saying hello, and we can hear you. Thank you very much for that.
That is great, and thank you so much for having me. I did not know that story from Charlotte, so definite shout out to Charlotte. She is such an amazing Pace supporter and loves all of our girls.
She does. She's amazing.
Thank you.
So give us a little history. We're going to get to what Pace Center for Girls is all about, but give us a little history on you. The audience always likes to know. All right, so who's Rosene? Where does she come from? Where did her big why come from? So start. You know, you can start with where you were born, but let's not be at first grade by 225. I got to guess do that a couple of times. You know what happens. So tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Well, I definitely won't go all the way back to first grade. We'll save that. So I will just say that I am a Midwestern transplant to Florida, originally from the Indiana, Michigan area. Born in Indiana, grew up in Michigan, and about 7 years ago moved to Florida, looking for new opportunities, new ways to be able to give back.
Did you have family here or anyone here that you knew?
No family here. Actually came with quite a few friends. We were honestly looking to be able to do something different, start something fresh, but also looking for a new opportunity. And Orlando was just a great place for it.
And maybe a little warmer weather?
For sure, warmer weather. For those of you up north, it's not that I don't love you. Summer is a wonderful time.
Summer's beautiful up in Michigan, and oh yeah, it's gorgeous.
This time of year is wonderful. However, when it passes October and that November time comes, you're quickly reminded that snow is very overrated, and so is shoveling your driveway.
Yeah, no, I don't want that.
So, I think if I would use two words to describe me, it would be energetic leader. I've always been connected to children and children's causes, and I've always been very energetic about helping kids develop successfully.
Why?
Why? Because...
What's your why? Like what? You obviously weren't born, and then all of a sudden you want to work with children.
No.
We'll talk about that. So what was the turning point, or what happened to go, you know what, I really like to work with kids. It's my passion.
It's so funny. The turning point was I was actually in college, and I got connected to an amazing ministry that helped me start thinking about purpose. And I was running from working with kids. I'd been around kids my whole life. My mom actually used to have a child care. And so I would work with the kids, and I would always have a great time with them, but I just said, I can't do this all of my life. Is this all that I could do? And long story short, when it came down to purpose, I was actually going down the field and track of journalism. So I was a previous journalist. I wrote for newspapers and magazines, did radio, some television, and I loved it. But it wasn't.
That explains why you're a natural on here.
Oh,
you're
really?
trying to. I've never been on Facebook Live today.
I have not. I really.
I know, but you're
not.
a natural. You're just going for it. I love it.
But so I had that, but it wasn't. It didn't get to my heart.
Sure.
It was something that I loved doing, but I realized I liked not only sharing the story, but being a part of the story. And that was when I realized that working with youth that were underprivileged, and that spans a lot. It expands those that quote unquote might be labeled at risk.
Sure.
It spans those that are youth with disabilities, and it also spans those youth that are just needing of some additional support because they can't navigate our current educational system. Those are the kids that I was always drawn to. Those were the kids that were into my classrooms. Those were the kids I enrolled and accepted in my education programs and my child care centers, because those were the kids I felt that if we can influence them, these are the kids that have so much potential, but no one can see it.
Well, I think, yeah, and we'll talk more about PACE and how that works, because I don't know that a lot of people know about PACE Center for Girls. But I'm curious, how do you make the transition from writing and journalism and all of that to the nonprofit world? It's completely different. Was there a particular story that really moved you, and finally was the straw that said, you know what, Rosene, it's time for you? You said to yourself, it's time for me to move along? Or was it just this thing where you weren't being fulfilled by journalism and you knew you wanted to do something else?
It wasn't either. It was a person.
A person.
And her name was Caitlin. And Caitlin was in my class when I was a student teaching at Michigan State University. And I remember this girl. I'm still in touch with her, but boy, does she have some challenges. And I remember that we would see two different little girls, and at this time she was 2. So we would see this bubbly, beautiful Caitlin that was fun, and then just almost appearing out of nowhere, we would see this angry, upset child that would just act out in ways that you wouldn't even think were possible. That I had an opportunity to really work with her, to build a relationship with her, and seeing her begin to change as I changed and how I connected with her and how I taught her, that was the moment that I said, wait a minute, I can even have a greater level of influence, one person at a time. So that's when I got really serious about early childhood education. That was when I got really serious about education in general, and working with children with disabilities and those that, again, were disadvantaged. Now, fast forward, Caitlin's in college doing fantastic.
So you've tracked since age 2.
Age 2.
So what did you do? How did you know?
Me now.
This
so
is not. You're a baby.
I'm
remember?
only 29. So just remember that, okay?
I'm only 35. So I don't know what's happening here. But how do you How do you rationalize? Let's see. Everyone has to eat and expect. I can't read it all, Maho.
Yeah.
She'll answer later. I promise. It's old age. Sometimes I can't read the questions when they're that long. So how did you just keep in touch with her and her family? Because it usually is a person. It's usually some person makes this impact on your life, makes this impact on your world, and then, but a lot of times you lose track of that person. So did you keep in touch with the family, made it a point that you were going to make sure that this person who had impacted you were going to continue to track what they were doing in their lives?
I have to thank Mark Zuckerberg, because we reconnected over Facebook. And that's exactly how it happened. And I was connected to her mom. And so once Facebook became big, that's when we really stayed connected. And then by being connected to her mom, I was able to be friends with Caitlin. And so I get to see all of her adventures, all of her travels. And to this day, we still talk.
That's amazing. All right. But it's one thing to be motivated. It's another thing to make a career shift.
Sure.
So when you made the career shift, when you said, all right, I'm going to go into this full-time early childhood education, you wanted to make an impact on kids' lives. Not that you didn't want it before, but you're going to make a career out of this.
Sure.
How were your family and friends? Did you have to make a whole bunch of changes in your life? What did you have to do different?
They all knew it. It was almost as if they were just waiting for me to say, oh, so now you finally caught up with this whole aspect of the program. I think the biggest shift I had to make, though, was in mindset, in recognizing that everything is interconnected, right? So everything that I learned in journalism and in writing, I still use now. I still use it every single day. I mean, we're here, the things that I have to write for, whether it be grants, writing lessons, writing curriculums, writing books, everything that I've learned, I can still apply. Telling the story. My job as the ED of PACE Center for Girls, my primary job is to tell the story of our girls.
Sure.
So the fact that I have a background in speaking, that just means that I can tell that story more boldly. So, but it was a mindset shift of that. Just because I'm not doing this every day doesn't mean that all these skills that I've learned I can't apply in what I'm doing.
So when you go into nonprofits, because we've talked about it on the show before, I have a master's degree in health services administration We focused on nonprofits. I worked in the nonprofit sector for a long time. When you go from the outside world, is what I call it, the for-profit world, and you make a shift into nonprofit, what were some of the things that just surprised you? Because I did the opposite. I went from nonprofit to profit, but I'm amazed sometimes at how people can make that transition to go there, because the nonprofit world can be hugely challenging, no matter what your focus is.
Yes. That's a really great question. I want to make sure I answer it in its entirety. I think one of the biggest shifts was realizing that just because you're mission oriented, it doesn't mean that changes the bottom line. Being in a nonprofit, that's a tax designation. That doesn't mean that you're not in a business.
Correct.
And so
that's good. That's very good.
You still have to operate and have goals and objectives, and you still have to focus in on what that bottom line is. And so I think that was a big shift for me. I think the other shift was realizing that, and this might come off a little odd, but it's just the truth, that we have so many people that work so diligently in the nonprofit realm, but what ends up happening is because the rest of the outside world sees it as, I don't want to use the word less than, but different.
Right.
They don't understand that in order to operate, you still need the same level of overhead. So just because this person is passionate about what they do, it doesn't mean that you can give them 50 jobs on top of their one job. It means that in order for them to be able to be effective and the organization to grow, they need to be held to the same standard, or be able to play in that same playing field as you would with any for-profit, which means this person focuses on their job, their tasks, their duties, and that's that, not 50,000 other hats. And that's something that
was a struggle. You're right, because I remember when we, and I don't know if Jill will pop on or not, because she's got a real job again. Jill Gentry. That was such a struggle, because you really, it's a shortage, because in a nonprofit world, it's very difficult to always be ahead.
Right.
You're probably never ahead, honestly. It's very hard. So you're always out fundraising. You're always out trying to figure out how to make $100 work with a $1,000 bill.
Yes.
So you've got all these things you're trying to do, and so it's hard. So you do take on multiple hats, but you're right. If you do that too much, you burn people out, which is why in the nonprofit world there's so much burnout.
Yes.
And you also you get people who they're like, okay, I don't want anything to do with it anymore. Or you get the people in the fundraising side where they go, how many times can you ask me for money, Rosene?
Correct.
How many times can you come to me? Oh my God, it's another problem. And it's not that it's PACE Center for Girls, it's all of that.
Right.
So how do you deal with that? And then I want to get into PACE, of course, and I want to talk about the programs.
Sure.
But how do you deal with that as an administrator, as the executive director? Because I know that's such a challenge, especially in this world where we have GoFundMe. Everything's on the internet. There's 4 million different charities to choose from. So many things. How do you get the people involved?
Well, you know what? Thankfully, I have really great mentors. And I think, in all honesty, because my mentors they're women, which is great, but they're women that are in for-profit businesses, they help me see things differently. And because of that, we are able to develop strategies, and we're just now moving a lot of that forward, but we are able to develop strategies similarly to what you would see from a for-profit, meaning I understand we don't have the same resources, but we do have the same accessibility. So for instance, social media. How might we use social media in a way to market and tell our story in the same way that a Tide or a Pampers? On my way here, I was at a stoplight and there was a Pampers commercial with Chrissy Teigen on it. And I thought, how beautiful is this? But then I sat back and realized this was a 30-second Instagram ad that she put in an Insta story, and now I'm thinking about Pampers. I don't even have a child yet. But it made me sit back and think, because of my coaches, wait a minute, they're using that to tell their story. How can you do that to tell your story as a nonprofit? It's all about building that awareness and being true to your mission, but just using the tools possibly in a different way, but having that same accessibility.
All right, so let's talk about PACE Center for Girls. So what does PACE mean? What does it stand for? Give us a little history of PACE. Sure. And then I really want to get into the programs and the target, the group of girls that you really do serve. I mean, I'll share some of my stories after you tell the basics. of some of the events, which make me cry every time I go. But talk about PACE.
Well, PACE does not have an acronym anymore. We used to when we were founded in 1985. But we've moved on from that acronym and really just see ourselves as PACE Center for Girls. And I think the name, in all honesty, sums up what we do. We are a place where the girl is the center. The girl that comes to PACE is, I think, what your audience might think of. Maybe a girl that is at promise, maybe a girl that has had several different risk factors or things happen to her. Maybe she's a girl that's skipping, or maybe she's a girl that is not doing well in school. But our PACE girls are more than that. These are young ladies that may have been struggling or may be struggling with some serious mental health issues. These are young ladies that their environment is causing them to make decisions that really are not necessarily decisions they would want to make, but these are decisions they feel like they have to make. And so when I meet someone, I tell them that any girl can be a PACE girl at any time. You're looking at one. And that was what really drew me to PACE, was when I got a chance to see those young ladies, it was as if I was looking at a mirror at 13-year-old Rosene that had very low self-esteem, that had a father that was an alcoholic, and there were certain factors in my life that there were things that happened to me, but because I had strong people around me, they helped me navigate what was happening to what I wanted to have happen. And I get to be that person along with the rest of our team to the girls that are at PACE.
But I didn't know your story before, but I love, first of all, thank you for sharing that, because I think it's important. I think it's important for people to understand. So that's also such an amazing thing that you can give back to the girls, because a lot of times, it's not all nonprofits, but you're in an executive director position, and you may not have ever experienced what the PACE girls do. So it gives you an added layer of not just integrity, but believability from the girls' perspective.
Yes.
So when you're telling their story, like you talked about earlier, or they're telling you their story, you can actually relate to it. So that's very, very powerful. All right, so what are some of the programs? So the girls come in, the PACE, tell them where PACE Center is.
Yes, well, we are located on the east side of Orlando. Well, technically it's Winter Park, but we still consider ourselves the east side of Orlando. And right off of I-4 and Lee Road, actually. So you can actually see our building from I-4. And that is where we're located. What happens inside that building is incredible, because the girls come to school, and we are a school, so they do receive their academics, but they receive it in a way that is, and this is the part that I love about it, very individualized. So I knew that when I would work for or choose to serve in an agency that was an educational facility, really had to connect with me holistically, because that's how I think that kids learn. I don't think you can separate the physical from the academic and the academic for the social. I can't deal with that. Because I don't think that that's how we learn. So the fact that at PACE, the girls are getting their academics, but it's done in a setting that also supports their social services needs. So they have counselors, not guidance counselors, but mental health counselors that are in the building, that are with them all the time, where they can walk through certain issues. If they are having trigger points, because sometimes that happens.
Sure.
Whether it be a lesson or something that they saw, or a speaker that came in that triggered a memory that they thought that they had made it past, if you will, those counselors are there to support them. The other thing that makes it beautiful is that it's so small. There aren't any more than 14 girls in a class. So what that means is that gives those girls that opportunity to really get to know their teachers, but to also absorb that information, so they're not moving so fast. And these are middle and high school girls. I am constantly amazed at how fast the pace is, no pun intended, for the educational system here in Florida. And some of our girls just legitimately can't keep up. I mean, think about it. You have just left home. You have left home. You don't know. You left home with no lights on, first of all.
Right.
You had to get your brother and your sister ready for school. Your mom or dad has already left, so they're gone because they're at work. You're doing this in the dark. You have to feed your baby brother or baby sister, and then you do all of that. You all get on the bus, and it takes a lot of our girls 2 hours. So I'm on the bus for 2 hours before I get to school. By the time I get there, I'm exhausted.
Sure.
I'm exhausted driving home from Winter Park to Lake Nona sometimes, right? So I get there, and I have already left and experienced chaos. So to imagine that girl going into one of our larger schools here, one of our larger high schools, a Jones or an Evans, and to walk into 3,000 other kids that may have just experienced the same thing, it's almost as if you're just lighting a spark. You're igniting a spark. And so that's what happens to a lot of our girls. They need to come out of that large environment so that they do have a place where they can focus that's less chaotic, but that gives them that space to breathe so they can focus when they get into that class.
Now, do you require, like, are the parents super involved? If there are parents around, like, how does that work? You demand, or I can't remember. I'm asking this truly because I don't remember.
Yes.
Okay, so talk about that.
We do. Our parents at PACE are very engaged, and as a matter of fact, they're our #1 referral source.
Wow.
And I think those are the moments that remind me why I do what I do. Because when you have a parent coming in saying, please help me, I want to save my daughter, I don't want her to go through what I went through, that's why we exist.
Powerful.
And those parents are there from the very beginning of the enrollment process to our monthly parent contact meetings that we have with them to keep them up to speed on how their young lady is doing and what she's learning in the classroom and what she's sharing with her counselor. Not that we, broach any confidentiality, but we do give the parents that opportunity of that theme, because a lot of times things have happened to their daughters, unfortunately, that they honestly have no idea of. And then it helps to explain the behavior. So, okay, now I understand why she's been acting out, or now I understand why she's been skipping school. Now I understand why she's been fighting. She's dealing with something that is so large that she doesn't know what to do with it.
And a lot of times, so I experienced this, at some time I've got to do a show on bullying, but I have a child that experienced the bullying, and they don't want to talk to the parent.
Right.
They don't want to tell you, or maybe they do, they don't know how to tell you.
Yes.
And there's just all this stuff going on. So parents don't, any parent out there, you shouldn't feel bad about it. I must ask my child 500 times a day, are you all right, are you all right?
Yeah.
Until they're ready to do it, until they're in an environment that they feel like they can do it in. I mean, so tell us how we can get involved. What can we do? There's 14 girls.
Yeah.
Is there a waiting list?
There is a growing waiting list. So we have about 14 girls right now. Well, let me rephrase that. 14 girls in a class. But we actually, our enrollment is for 50 girls. And so as we move into the fall, we'll have 50 girls.
Wow.
And there are a lot of different ways that the community can really get engaged. And I want to go back to a point you just made about when a girl feels comfortable to share. That's what our counselors and teachers are there to help them do. We're here to help them navigate how to communicate better with their parent or with their friends. To not give them the words, but to give them the space to learn how to do that. So that's why that's so powerful.
It is so powerful.
But there are a lot of different ways to get engaged, and we talked about that today. We actually had a tour where we had a lot of different community partners joining us, and you have to consider what type of person you are. So if you are in front of the screen person, so we kind of use the movies as a kind of parallel. So if you're the actor or the actress that needs to be in front, meaning you want to speak directly to the girls, or you have a craft or something that you can do, or a skill that you want to share directly with the girls, we consider you that front line. But there are many times so many people that have so many skills that really are the behind the scenes people. And we connected that with the movies, meaning that, okay, there might be 3 or 4 stars in a movie, but the movie is not getting made without the 300 people in the back that are doing the editing,
Absolutely.
the boom, and all of that. So it's all important. And so I think it really depends on where you feel your gift is. We've had people, Ted, that have come in that have marketing and technology backgrounds that have provided support for us for social media or helping us with a lot of our projects, our media projects, to those that companies that have come in and helped us refurbish areas of our building. We had one company, Acesso, I'm going to shout them out, that actually came and totally redid our whole library.
Wow.
Winter Park Construction and their whole team, they've renovated our building twice.
Oh, I remember them.
Yes,
They're awesome. Yeah.
They are awesome. And so, but that's their way of using their gift to help support the girls, and they don't have to be in front of them. But we also have people like Shirlette, and one of my mentors that I was so excited, Dr. Stacia Pierce, actually came and she talked to the girls, and shared with them. She's a motivational speaker and an author, so she used her gift to share with the girls. So I think it's all about where you find your gift, because it all connects and every girl needs something differently.
So I love that, and I think that kind of approach to serving kids or serving anything that's in the nonprofit arena is so important, because I think a lot of times people they don't know what to do. Let's say they don't have the money to write a check.
Right.
There's still opportunities. They can donate time or their talents or get involved. They can help with social media. There's so many things that you can do if you have a passion for something like Pace Center for Girls. Then there are many ways you can do it, even though, listen, I'll say it, she might not. Money's important, right? But there are so many other things that you can do if it isn't money that you can give. And I think people need to keep remembering that. We all get caught up in the, well, I can't afford to write a $150 check or a $200 check or a $1,000 check. Go to one of their events and cry and tell me you're not going to commit to money. I'm going to tell you that right now. All right, so we're at 25 minutes.
Wow, that was so fast.
All right, so we're going to share all, and I want to give a shout out really quick. Rebecca Zahn, I love you to death. Camille and Michael, who must be part of your team, have been on and so supportive and loving it. I want to give them a shout out. Brett Schulman, I saw you give us a shout out on UpLive. Thank you. And on Facebook Live. All of you that have tuned in have been super supportive. We'll go back through and we'll answer. Both of us will. But I'm going to share at Pace Center for Girl, pacecenter.org. But we'll also share Rosene's contact information. And once we post the video, so any parting words of wisdom for them, anything you want to share with them, any upcoming events, it's all on you. You say what you want to say.
All right. Well, first of all, again, I really want to say thank you for this platform, for me to talk about our girls. It's all about sharing their story, so thank you for giving me that opportunity. They couldn't all be here, so thank you very much.
You're here representing.
Yes, absolutely. We do have a couple of events coming, and one of them is actually a social media event, which is actually entitled Embrace Pace. So we are doing our back to school campaign, and that campaign will support school supplies for the girls, and it will also provide additional awareness so that we know that there are so many girls that can benefit from PACE, but we're having difficulty finding them. So we're asking our community to help us be able to find these girls and their parents, so we can let them know that we are a solution for them. They don't have to be hurt anymore. We can help them. So look out on our social media sites. This is one way that you can stay in contact with us. Pace Center Orange is our Facebook page. We have, and it also mirrors our Instagram page, Pace Center Orange, at Pace Center Orange. Same thing for our Twitter, where we will actually be running the Embrace Pace campaign.
I love it. All right, you've been a joy. Thank you so much. Thanks for representing the girls. I wish Jill Gentry was on here because she would love this show. I'll make an intro to you. You really have to check out Pace Center. I've been there. I've toured the facility. I've been to the events. They're making such a huge impact. But they need help. We all need help, and they need you to kind of help them continue to make that impact. So you're a joy. Thanks, Rosene, so much for coming on. We love you guys. This is a part where I wish I had an executive producer. I don't. It's just me. UpLive family, stay tuned for just a second. We love you guys. Camille, Rebecca, everybody. Oh, thank you. Michael, too.
Thank you. Appreciate you all very much.